Good morning or good day to everyone. Here is a question on the increase of capital, the Ohada approach. Well, in this question, we discovered that this entity had a mathematical value before the increase of capital to be 21,200 and the nominal value of a share was 10,000 francs. The amount of capital before increase was 25 million francs because you multiply the number of shares times the nominal value. So the company decides to increase their capital using two modalities, one by issuing cash shares which the issue price is not given, and that's what we're asked to do. And secondly, by incorporating reserves. So for the first question, we're going to extract information and obtain what we can use. Well, my approach of solving, I'll use a tabular approach to solve the question to provide a solution to the question. So before we start, we have an extract of information given in the question. First, they have given us the capital for increase, which is a 25 number of shares, 25,000 shares times the nominal value. We have a capital of 250 million. The mathematical value before the increase of capital was given. In the question they wrote, they said the listed price of shares at the stock market was 21,200. And they equally gave us a subscription right of shares per share to be 1,200. And we know that in a successive increase of capital, the subscription right is obtained by taking the difference between the two mathematical values. So the math value before the increase of capital minus the math value after the increase of capital give us subscription right. Therefore, if we take subscription right 1,200 equal to math value before minus the math value after the first increase, by by looking for the unknown, by making the unknown a subject of the equation, we are going to be obtaining the mathematical value after the first increase to be 20,000 francs. This math value after the first increase, we'll use it in our tabular approach. In our tabular approach, we're going to use that math value as you can see on this table here. On this table, we're going to fill the table together. So we have a table here that will fill it together. We have capital or net asset before increase of capital, which is a number of shares times the mathematical value giving us this. New shares, we don't know the number of new shares. It was not given in the question. We don't equally know the issue price, but we know the amount, which is a multiplication of a number of shares times issue price. We have 70 million. The net asset after increase of the first capital will give us 600 million. We just a simple sum. We just sum these two. We have this. Then we know here that our subscription right 1 2 is equal to 21,200 minus the mathematical value after increase, and we have deduced that our mathematical value after increase is 20,000. So this math value after increase is 20,000. We are going to put it here. We have here 20,000. Since we already have 20,000, we can easily divide to obtain this. Given that this times this give us this, it means that this divided by this will give us this. Therefore, to obtain our number of shares after the first increase, we will simply divide 600 million divided by 20,000. Therefore, number of shares after the increase of capital is 30,000 shares. So we know it's a vertical sum. This number of shares before increase plus number of cash shares issued should give us total number of shares after the first increase. Therefore, we can subtract to obtain the number of shares before increase. So if we are subtracting, we take 30,000 minus 25,000. So it means we have 5,000 new shares here. And once we have 5,000 new shares, remember the principle, it was this times this giving us this. So we can divide this by this to obtain this. So to obtain now the issue price, which is the first question asked, we will take 70 million. Issue price will be 70 million divided by number of bonus shares. So 70 million divided by 5,000. So the issue price will be 14,000. For working purpose, you can write issue price equal to 70 million divided by 5,000. which implies that our issue price will be equal to 14,000 francs per share. Okay, the next question is to determine the amount of reserve incorporated. For us to determine the amount of reserve incorporated is the easiest way will be to look for the capital after increase. For example, in the question they're telling us that after the second increase, the capital went up to 400 million. So we can take capital before increase was how much? It was the capital for the first increase was 250 million. That's the amount of capital before the first increase. Then we can have our amount of capital increased by cash shares. Amount of capital increased by cash shares is the number of cash shares times nominal value. So number of cash shares, we have 5,000 cash shares. We multiply by the nominal value. We're going to have 50 million. So if we add these two, we're going to have the amount of capital after the first increase. So amount of capital after first increase will be equal to 250 million plus 50 million, giving us 300 million. Equally, in the question, they have given us the amount of capital after all increase. So we have here amount of capital after second increase. It's given there to be 400 million. Therefore, we can have now the amount of reserve incorporated, which is simply given between the capital after the increase 400 million minus the capital before the incorporation of reserves. So the amount of reserve incorporated gave us 100 million. This is the amount of reserve that has been incorporated into the capital. And that amount of reserve, if we divide the amount of reserve incorporated by the nominal value, we discover that we have number of bonus shares, number of free shares, number of bonus shares will be equal to 100 million divided by nominal value 10,000 francs. 4 zeros off, we're going to be having 10,000 bonus shares. Okay, now the next question is to determine the attribution right. Since we have valid information that can help us to fill that table, we can draw on that table now, which will help us to determine our attribution right. We should not forget that attribution right is equal to the MAD value 1, that's MAD value after first increase, minus the MAD value after all the increase. That's how we obtain our attribution right. So we can start filling our table. To fill our table, we have the MAD value after the first increase. We'll take the items from the former table, the last line of the former table, last but one line. We'll copy this line here. We'll copy this line. So before the second increase or after the first increase, we had 30,000 shares. The MAD value was 20,000 francs and the net assets was 600 million. Now bonus shares, we have calculated the number of bonus shares and we discovered that there are 10,000 bonus shares. We have 10,000 bonus shares, given that 100 million francs of reserve was incorporated. So the 10,000 bonus shares will be here. The value of a bonus share is 0 franc, so there's nothing coming to add on the net assets. So we add these two. We are still on 600 million. Our net asset has not increased, but our number of shares has increased to 40,000 shares. Then we can divide to have the math value after the second increase, after the increase of capital by incorporation of reserve. So by taking 600 million divided by 40,000. So we're going to have 15,000. So our math value has dropped to 15,000. So we're respecting this formula of attribution right equal to math value before and math value after. So we can have now our attribution right. We'll say our attribution right will be 20,000 minus 15,000. So the attribution right here is 5,000 francs per share. So that's the answer to the third question. For working purpose, you can come this way. You say, okay, attribution right equal to 20,000, which is math value before, minus 15,000, which is math value after. Therefore, implies that attribution right equal to 5,000. Well, that's the solution provided to the question that was asked. So we have our solution this way. We decided to use a tabular approach. You see, with this table, if you don't have a video to back it up, it'll be difficult. It'll be difficult somehow to explain how the values were obtained. But it's very easy to solve the question using the table. Using the table is very easy to solve the question using the table. Okay, thank you. Waiting for your reaction, your comment about the solving.